Good afternoon, everybody. I am Miriam White. They call me Missy. I'm with the American Red Cross. I've been executive director out of Woodward, and then I moved to Stillwater, and now I have 27 counties or 26, can't remember, and one executive director for all of those. I have two disaster service managers, and everything else, as it is with the American Red Cross, is run by volunteers. We do a lot. Our volunteers are the heart of the American Red Cross, and they, along with the donors, and you're going to see that in these slides. So I'm going to move forward. It's been a while since I've done this, so just bear with me. I guess, okay. How about if I do arrow? Okay. I don't know if this is going to play, but it's not very long, so okay, so let's skip it. Okay, so what do I have to do? Got it. I'm hitting the arrow bar. Sorry, guys. My fault.
You have lots of these?
No, it's only, oh, there you go. There we go. Okay, so back on track. I want to introduce just real quick, take a few seconds. Krista Reimer is my board chair. She works for Arvest Bank. And then Scott Copeland, she is wonderful. And Scott Copeland is our regional philanthropy officer, and he's going to also give you a Ukraine update. So he'll be coming up here in just a minute to be able to do that. So I want to talk a little bit about the American Red Cross and what all we do, and what, just to give you a little background, it's a 140-year-old organization founded by Clara Barton, where you have two congressional charters. We are partners with FEMA for disaster services, and we are also partners with the Department of Defense. We do all the military call communications through military families, and do a lot of the all the background that they need done on checking for things like that. And there'll be a slide that I'll share some more with you on that. So I wanted to tell you about Oklahoma is the third ranked in the nation for disasters. So out of all the states, we're number 3. Yeah, top 10. Hey, we got something to be proud of right here. Since 1953, Oklahoma has had more than 70 major disaster declarations, 10 emergency declarations, and 78 fire management assistant declarations. Here is our impact in the state of Oklahoma for the American Red Cross. I can tell you right now, we import funds into Oklahoma from the National American Red Cross. We don't export funds. What we raise in Oklahoma stays in Oklahoma. We have an average of 1,600 everyday disaster relief efforts from the American Red Cross. And that's about 5,000 Oklahomans impacted by disaster this year. This was all FY21's stats. 27,000 units of blood was processed, and units of blood, plasma and platelets donated to help those in need. 3,000 smoke alarms were installed to families to ensure that their households are safer. And we sit down with them, and we also go through how to do a fire escape for their families. So more coming on that. 29,000 services to the military members, veterans, and their families. And here's a big one right here is almost $1 million is spent on emergency financial assistance. That's money in the client's hands for shelter, food, medication, and immediate long-term recovery needs. And when I talk about this, you may have a house fire and you need nothing, but you need those medications refilled. We can get those refilled for you quicker than anybody, because a lot of your medication, you can't get them refilled that quick if they don't have if the Red Cross calls, you don't have to show any type of documentation. The pharmacies really move it through very quickly. So it's an incredible thing that I knew I was going to ramble and go off track, but it's important that with the OSU homecoming parade, that is what we did more than anything, was get medical equipment to those folks and get it airdropped to their homes, get it donated, no expenses, because everything was frozen for them to pay for anything on their insurance company, because they didn't know if it was an accident or if it was terrorists or anything like that. So the Red Cross, we opened up cases for every one of them and collected no money for it. 32,000 life-saving Red Cross training courses in CPR for preparedness is done a year. So providing immediate assistance after a disaster. Okay, disaster response. When a family's home it catches on fire, they lose everything. Usually they lose everything. When a house is flooded, the family is left nowhere to go. When loved ones are separated during a disaster and need to be reunited. Don't think it can't happen. It happened during Katrina. Families got separated all over the place. So they go to what we call, we have a website where everybody that's in our shelter gets registered on. And you can, even if you have a family member in New Jersey and they get registered on that shelter site, you can go to Red Cross and they can tell you that your family is safe and well. It's a safe and well program. It's on the internet. More than ever, people need our help through one of the studies that we did in 2019, about 40% of Americans don't have $400 for emergency expenses. It's about an average of what we spend on a case is for a family of two is $400 right off the bat immediately. There's more that comes with that. 2 major disasters every single month. In 2004, we averaged one major disaster response a month, and that figure has steady increased by 2019, and it had doubled. In 2020, we saw record-breaking hurricane season, horrific wildfires, and ice storms, which is why we remain in a steadfast state of readiness, mobilizing supplies, staff, and volunteers. It has been horrific for us. It is just one disaster after another, and then and on top of that, there's been one crisis after another too, right along with it, that we support. And when the Department of Defense calls you up and says, we need to open up a shelter at these bases for victims, for clients that are getting evacuated from Iraq, you open them up and you get volunteers there and you do it, because that's what we're here to do. Providing the nation's largest blood supply. If anything that you take away today, I want to ask you to go to your phones and download the Red Cross, make sure it's got the Red Cross logo on it, blood donor app. You can schedule your appointments. Guys, we need to start giving blood. Everybody needs to give blood. I don't care where you give it. I shouldn't say that. I should want you to give it to Red Cross, but it doesn't matter where you give blood. But the nation needs blood. It's critical right now. And it's going to get even more critical because we're about to go into the slow season, which is summer and vacations. So we host nearly 550 blood drives every day in a community. Each blood drive costs us $3,900. That's the expense for us on a blood drive. We are celebrating 4 million individuals have downloaded that donor app. And what that donor app does, just so I can just tell you real quick, I should go back to it, but I won't. But what that donor app does, it'll tell you right now we're starting antibody testing again for the coronavirus. And I know you're like, it's over. You know, I kind of feel the same way. But for some reason, we're starting it again. They need it. So it just sends you a notice. Like if you had the antibodies, it'll send you a notice. If you give blood, anytime you go to redcrossblood.org, you put in your zip code and it loads up every blood drive that's in your community. And right now they'll let anybody do the Power Reds, any blood types do the Power Red machines, which are evidently pretty nice. Providing people with life-saving CPR and first aid and swimming and life-saving skills. everything that we do now, even since we've gone virtual, has allowed us to have all kinds of classes online. So there's a lot that you can get online, and then you just go to your local YMCA or you go to your OSU Wellness Center and you take the exam if you're going to be a lifeguard. You can basically, they may choose not to do it that way, and they may want to teach it all in-house, and that's their choice, or teach their particular program. But with Red Cross, you can take all the classwork online and then go in and do the skills for an instructor. Training services, I kind of spoke on that. Community education teaches people how to prepare for and respond to disaster. I can do any lunch and learn and do Be Red Cross Ready. Takes me 5 minutes. If your business would allow me to do that, that's numbers. That helps me with my United Way, especially in Payne County, because we're a United Way partner. They're very generous to the American Red Cross. And so that gives me numbers and people that I educate and prepare for disaster. You always will learn something when you take any of those classes. So, and then I'd like to introduce to you guys the Ready Rating program. It's readyrating.org. It is online. It is with the American Red Cross. You can sign up for it. It's free. It will tell you how to get your business prepared for a disaster. So I just think that's critical, especially in the times that we live in today. So you can do that and just just see where it takes you and where you go with it. Preparedness, we have a home fire campaign. We just started it last month. It is our largest campaign fundraiser. And what we do is the American Red Cross Home Fire Campaign started in 2014. We have donors that have already bought all of the lithium battery smoke alarms that Krista's going to hold up. We go and we can put this in your home, but it has to be us or the fire department. I cannot hand them out to you. And you've got to sign off on a piece of paper, and I got to sit down with you and give your family preparedness tips. So with that said, that should be very impressive with the numbers that you see when you see that we are educating people in their homes and putting in smoke alarms. Since 2014, we've had over 1,000 lives saved across the nation with our smoke alarms. Okay, Be Red Cross. Okay, so we did last year. We provided for 2 years, FY20 and 21, we did 2,049 free smoke alarms in the Northern Oklahoma chapter. We've done about 300 here locally in Payne County. We did 710 homes for Homes Made Safer in 710 homes. And then we did 400 individuals for Be Red Cross Ready, and Homes Made Safer, we did 200 families. So last year, when we couldn't go into the homes and we couldn't do smoke alarms, we called people up to see if they wanted us to teach them about Homes Made Safer, check their smoke alarms, to teach them, give them a critical tip on something that has to do with any of all of the national disasters that happen, from fire to hurricane winds to tornadoes, how to prep and be ready for your home. One of the best things that Red Cross has ever put together, and it's been really a successful program, is called our pillowcase program. It is a pillowcase that, and it was started out with Walt Disney was our partner, and we got the idea from the University of Louisiana during Hurricane Katrina. Everybody was leaving, all of the students were leaving with all their stuff in their pillowcases. So that's where the idea stemmed from, about getting kids prepared. And I'm not kidding you, if your kids are prepared, things seem to stay a lot calmer within the house. And a lot of safety around disasters is just calming down and getting prepared and getting into a safe position and a safe spot, knowing what you have to grab and only grabbing those things. And so it's crucial, and it's numbers that we're very proud of. So saving the lives of the world is what matters the most to the American Red Cross is saving the lives of the world's most vulnerable people. International relief. I have to do this. Disaster, we do in an international relief, it's international Red Cross. So it's an International Red Cross. It's not the American Red Cross, International Red Cross. It's a complete different entity. We help them with disaster preparedness, response, and recovery to disasters. Measles and malaria initiatives, and then restore family links. And our phones are going to be going crazy at the national organization for restoring families that are going to get misplaced during this time of this crisis with Ukraine. And we know that. We'll be prepared for that. We'll probably send them, if I was Gail McGovern, I'd probably send it right through our Service of the Armed Forces phone lines that already take those calls, and just probably will have more volunteers at those centers. We have 4 Service of the Armed Force calling centers across the United States, and the largest one sits in Fort Sill down in Lawton. And then education of international humanitarian law. This is an incredible program. We just now the class, I took it years and years ago, probably back in 2006. So much to learn, and we can, if you become a volunteer for the American Red Cross or not, but I think it's available to anybody online now. It is one of the classes that we have online. We offer it through Oklahoma State with the government students, and well, we told them about it, and some of the government students took it last year just to see how it went. When it matters the most, Red Cross is providing support to members of the armed forces and their families. So we go where they go. With our expansion worldwide network, we stand with our service members through their military careers and beyond, preparing for military life. So at the beginning, we prepare them, we brief their families, and we hold coping and deployment workshops for their families. We do that at Tinker Air Force Base. We assist with career services for military spouses and more. And then we respond during difficult times. We verify emergency back home. We provide access to financial help during difficult times. We support in areas of the armed conflict and more. And then recovery with with medical, family, and community support, providing medical rehabilitation care through the hospital volunteers, holding reconnection workshops for adults and children. These workshops have exploded with the military for us. And we have, if you're a counselor or you know a counselor or somebody with that background, we are desperate for those volunteers to coordinate those classes for us and become instructors for the American Red Cross. And it's all done online. You can help people facing emergencies too. So we're at the end. Ways to engage: give blood. I explained to you how to do that, and host a blood drive, sponsor a blood drive, volunteer. We would love to have you as a volunteer, become a board member. I'm always looking for board members, host a volunteer fair and partner with us, and then donate. Of course, everything you can do is at redcross.org online. My business cards, I kind of threw some on the table. I'm out of them. So what I had is what I put out. Reach out to me. Our office for the 26 counties sits right here at 405 South Main. So it sits in Stillwater. And you have any questions for me? Anything? Oh, I want Scott to come up and give you a quick Ukraine update, because I knew my mouth would be dry, and I'm going to hand it over to him to give you that update.
Sure. Thank you. Yeah. Hello, Rotarians. Just a quick, brief update on what we're doing in the Ukraine as the Red Cross, right? The crisis is there. So currently there are no American Red Cross personnel on the ground in Ukraine. But through the International Red Cross, for years, we've had workers there through the International Red Cross distributing food, fuel for heating, clothing, support for housing to people along the eastern border, in particular there between Ukraine and Russia. And that's, of course, continued to be the case. Now we have about 30 or so personnel that were trained and are spread out through Europe that are there primarily on our Service of the Armed Forces side to keep the lines of communication for emergencies open for our service members, U.S. military and U.S. personnel. But right now, that's where we are, as working through the International Red Cross, we're continuing to support those whose homes have been displaced and providing, like I said, food, fuel for heating, for what's the Boy Scout prayer for food, for raiment, for, so, the necessities that we need to survive. And so in that way, the Red Cross is there in the Ukraine. Yeah, I'll turn it back over to you. I will say, you talked about home fire. So 950,000 roughly. I know last year, I was just talking to somebody about this yesterday. In Oklahoma, the Red Cross, American Red Cross, your Red Cross, ours, spent 1.2 million. $1.2 million went to families that through loss of home fire. And that's for, a toothbrush, for a shelter for a few days before they decide what they're going to do next. For the things that, where are my insurance papers, replacing those things to help them get on their feet. The people are there. Those volunteers, trained volunteers are there with the Red Cross to give them shelter, a gift card for them to get into a hotel, have some things to get their lives back together in those first few days. And then the fall, there's even additional, we could go on for days about any aspect, but that touched on me because I know we hit on home fires, kicking that off. But when there's a loss of life, there's additional fees that we have they just help you get to the next step as you're dealing with the grief and loss. But it's quite a big operation.
I like to tell you about that. I had a family up in Woodward that I knew very well. They lost, he's a pastor of the church, and they're in Woodward, and he lost his son, his daughter-in-law, and 3 children in a mobile home. They go up very fast. And 1 child survived. And it did my heart so good. And I'm a donor to the American Red Cross. I donate dollars to them, that we were able to give them $5,000 because we give $1,000 per family for that parish in a disaster. And you just don't hear of organizations that are out there doing that. And it just does, and they desperately need it. And it's so wonderful in America, really in the United States, because we're begging during disasters when money's just coming in and it's a big one. We're begging for families like you guys to come in and open up the case, because that's why people are donating to it. So that it's just so important that you open up a case. And that's also how FEMA decides whether or not to have declarations and what they'll pay back. And so when disasters happen, we need you to come in so we can give you the money, because we are the top dog in that organization and we are watched. I probably shouldn't be saying that, but we are watched and we should be watched. And it makes me proud that we're watched, especially with the husband that's a CPA. So anybody have any questions for me? Yes.
Not a question. I just registered with the app, got a donor ID.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
It doesn't matter.
Yep. Yeah. Anything else? Anybody have any other things? I know you guys had a busy day. Well, thank you for having me. Yes.
Aside from money, which every nonprofit probably can use more of,
Absolutely. No, we always can.
more cases for money, what would you say your biggest challenge is, accomplishing your goal or your mission?
Volunteers. We have lost a tremendous amount of volunteers due to the fact that we went virtual and virtual only the last 2 years.
Is that like just in the northern Oklahoma area?
Yep.
What would an example of volunteers task or job be?
I'm going to tell you that the most difficult thing is, and it's the thing that you hate to tell people when a tornado comes through Stillwater, that's not the time to come and volunteer, because you've got to take classes. You've got to be trained. You got to go out. You got to know how to do casework online. I mean, everything's gone virtual, which is wonderful, because we can drop a $300, $400, $500, $600 check. You can go up from there. Let me think of a town, wherever there's a Walmart, we can drop it to the Walmart now. We can drop it into their bank accounts. Not a lot of people like us doing that, but we can. So, but it is volunteers, it's classes, it's taking the time to do the classes and finding your niche and where you want to be and what you want to do. But we have blood drivers. You just go on redcross.org and volunteer, and you can just look at all the different lists. And disaster services, you just have to go through the training, get a background check done and all of that. Yes.
You give like
Yes. You're on our network system called Volunteer Connect. And we are dropping you emails every morning. And I'm not going to lie. I mean, you can say we try to hold back, but when something's open, something's available, and you're trained to do that, we're going to let you know. And you just go on and you click, I'm ready to go. And get work through the system. It's incredible how we do it and the way it's done and all that.
Do you ever serve outside of your geographical area? Like
Oh,
Oklahoma people go down to
Oklahoma people are the best because we've seen it, we've experienced it, and we know how important it is for when we go into Louisiana, which I was just at, stayed on a cot for 2 weeks because it's not always pretty. So I was at the last hurricane in the chapter office. Don't really want to do that again, but and I was government liaison person, so I got up every morning. But yes, you go. But the thing that I know is I want to be kind and help people and make sure that we can get to yes somehow, some way for everybody that needs it, some assistance, because we're going to all pull out of there, and that chapter's left with the folks there. So that's a lot of detail, but it's really important. Our volunteers love to go, and we pay for you to go, but you might be sleeping on a cot and you're not. I mean, it's not a vacation. You're going to be working 12 hours a day.
last question. I promise.
Okay.
How many registered volunteers does your chapter have?
We're about 96 and we were about 150 something.
Is that just that's the region, not Stillwater, right?
That's not still, that's my chapter. So that has 26 counties. In Oklahoma, I don't know how many volunteers, and we probably have more, we probably say we have more than what we have for active volunteers. I mean, honestly, because that's just what happens. 19, oh, Kansas and we are the Kansas and Oklahoma region. So 1900 with Kansas and Oklahoma. Registered volunteers, registered, trained, active volunteers. We don't count anything else anymore. Yep. Sorry. Thank you.